Thank you for coming out on a not so glorious day, but still a good day. For those that don't know who I am, I'm Brian Bryce. I'm the fire chief here for the city of Mount Vernon. And I just wanted to say welcome. Welcome to Fire Station 2. For those that don't know, it's one of 3 stations we have here in the city. We have one downtown area next to City Hall. We have another one up off of Division Street there that we just renovated last year that we had an opening for as well. So again, that's your fire stations. Please take some time and visit them if you haven't. I highly recommend visiting Station 1 and then look at this and then look at that and then come back and see if there's any differences anybody notices between those stations and that. As we start off, I have to acknowledge a few folks that are instrumental to this whole process, right? And I'm going to start with our current council members and our past council members because without their support, without their, I'll call it both monetary and more importantly, emotional, verbal, just commitment support, we wouldn't be here today. We really wouldn't. So that's greatly appreciated. So if you're a council member, please stand up. I believe we have everybody here. Navarro, Melissa, Mary, Iris, Richard Brocksmith. Back there is Gary, and next to Gary is Mark Holst, who was also very, very fundamental as our public safety chair in making sure we could realize this dream. Also with us today, we have Commissioner Browning in the back as well, visiting. Thank you, Commissioner, for coming today. So again, I go back I think you did that last time to me, or it was either you or somebody who snuck in last time. Commissioner Wiesen, thank you again for coming out today. Thank you for helping me not miss some folks that are very important to this whole piece. And again, and their support was critical. But again, I'll go back to where that support really starts with me, and that would be my direct supervisor, which is the mayor. And I'm going to start with Mayor Boudreau, who I don't see. But again, she's the one we have the early dialogues with. She helped the formation of how can we fund this? How can we move this forward? How and what's that project going to look like? What's the vision for the city for not just today, but the long term? And even though she's not in office today, it's her vision and her piece that helps it to move to where we're hopefully going to get to in the future. And then, luckily he was in the office and he was there, he was around, he heard those dialogues, so it was easy for Mayor Donovan to step into that role. And again, I think continue that support, continue the dialogues for our future station downtown, which is another project we'll talk about later. But again, thank you, Mayor Donovan, for your continued support and everything here. Now, a grand opening wouldn't be anything if I didn't keep talking for lengthy periods of time and thanking everybody. But there are other players here that need that acknowledgement. I'm a fire chief. You want to ask me a fire question? I can talk for days. I can give you 35 years worth of history, experience, and anything you want in regard to that. You ask me how to design a fire station. You ask me how to build a fire station. You ask me about construction, and I'll be blank face. No clue. So we couldn't have done this without that team that brings these things all together. And this started back in 2018 when we had the dialogue and we said, well, first we need to understand what do we have in our current facilities? Where are we lacking? And in 2018, for those that don't know, we did a needs assessment of all 3 of our fire stations to determine where our gaps were. And at that time, we retained McKinsey Architects to do that study. Well, as time progressed, lo and behold, a little thing settled in around 2020, if you remember correctly, and we put that on hold for a little bit, and then we were able to pick it right back up again and can kind of continue that. So again, I want to thank McKinsey Architects, and I see Brett, and again, I'm not going to try to call out everybody from this point forward because there are some players that I may or may not know or see, and that's because I'm personally horrible with names sometimes. But also because people sneak in, Commissioner Wiesen, and I don't want to purposely ignore it. So if you're with McKenzie's team, please raise your hand so we can all acknowledge you for your work in that design piece. So Brett's riding solo today. So then you take it to the next phase, and that next phase is, how do we build this thing? And we obviously need some construction folks. So with Fire Station 3, we did a nice bid process, and Trico had won that bid award. We worked intimately with those folks on that project to get that. As we continued forward and we talked about Station 2, they're like, well, are you going to bid? Are you not? You know, there's no preferences here. It's going to be a competitive process. And again, we did that process, and they were the winners of that bid. So the nice part about that was, one, that team carried itself over for the most part, I'll say. There was a few changes here or there, but again, the key piece, and I don't see Chris wandering around, but Chris Green was instrumental. He was the superintendent to that. But again, we had the core team from Trico who knew what we experienced up at Station 3, who had those design features. We had the relationships already built. So again, I want to recognize Trico, and I know there's several, Jason, Will, Julie, or Robin's here, Chris. Please raise your hands, because again, it's real hard to find where everybody's at, and make sure I call out all those names for that. But thank you again for that expertise coming forward with that. I'm going to back up because I missed a group here when I was on my elected part of this. We also have two of our commissioners from Fire District 1, which, if you don't know, Mount Vernon has a contract to provide that service. So Terry and Stu, Stu's in the back there, please. They're commissioners for Fire District 1. If you ever want to have a dialogue about where is Fire District 1, let's sit down, because it's a hodgepodge of a location. And then to kind of pull it all together, because how many folks have ever done well, that's not fair for this group, but done a construction project? If you haven't, there is a lot of nuances to that part of it. There is a lot of requirements and codes and reporting and documentation and follow-up documentations and change order process and RFIs and all that stuff. I go back. I learned more about this than I ever think I wanted to, but I feel I could speak somewhat to that now. But I wouldn't be able to do it without the help of the construction management firm we brought on, which was KBA. So again, there's a big group from KBA here as well. So please, if you could, raise your hands, and please, let's recognize KBA as our construction management. And at the end here, before I get to the next part, I do want to call out a special, and it doesn't diminish anybody else's participation in this, but there were three key stakeholders in this whole process that I just want to make sure that get specific recognition. One would be Rachel from McKenzie, the project manager. So Brett, thank you for her guidance, her help and support that she gave us. Her honest feedback helped us keep on track with that. From Trico team, Chris Green, if you're not paying him more, you need to be paying him more. And I sincerely mean that, and that I think sometimes Chris cared more about this fire station or these fire stations than I did. His passion and his true desire to have everything the best that it could be really shine through in that project. So thank you, and please thank Chris for that. And then I'll wrap it up with the last person who met with me more than any of the other team, probably took my text messages on weekends, took my phone calls, Michael Serrano from KBA and his project management skills. And again, for KBA, if you're not paying him more, you need to, but not charging us as much. But again, it is the understanding of how does this process work and his ability to navigate, which, believe it or not, sometimes architects and construction firms don't always see things the same way. His ability to navigate that and keep everybody on the same plane, working towards the same goal, towards the same things, was pretty amazing. So Michael, thank you. So 3 more hours and I'll be done here. And it cannot be understated the importance that our firefighters played in this. And I'll go back to that original needs assessment, and I don't see him in the audience, but for those, Mike Odell, retired captain from the city, he was kind of our key point for that, of getting feedback from the folks, looking at Station 1, looking at those needs, and helping to design the programmatic things that need to be in the station. So again, a big thank you to Mike Odell and the team that he had put together back then. But to our firefighters who provided that input early on, who are providing the input now for Station 1, but more importantly, dealt with over 2 years worth of moving. And if you haven't been displaced from a work environment for a long period of time, you can't understand the disruption that that could cause, especially when you're trying to do it not just 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, but our firefighters have to do this 24/7. So again, we had to find that housing, and they lived in not bad conditions, I don't want to say that, but less than desirable, that facilitated emergency response, that facilitated good mental health, that facilitated the good morale piece that needs to be there for them over the years as they go out and serve our community. So again, I want to say a big thank you to the patience, to our firefighters, to the understanding of our firefighters, and I hope that what you're seeing now goes, you know what, I don't even remember that time, and now all I see is what we have ahead of us, which is this station and hopefully a Station 1 down the road. So thank you to all the firefighters that are here. And last, but certainly not least, Assistant Chief Brian Harris, who had to deal with my rants, my rage, my frustrations. I don't want to say my tears, because I don't think you saw that. I think my wife saw those. But was there as that operational piece on the background that I could bounce the things off of, that worked to help us move the ball forward, stepped in when I wasn't available, answered the questions, again, weekends, evenings, and took that time. It's his guidance. And you're leaving? It's my wife, Wendy. She's going to hate that. But Brian's leadership and guidance in helping that move forward was instrumental. So thank you, Brian, for all that you did for this project. So wrapping up now. As you drove here, how many experienced the lights out? How many have power at their house? Some of you. So I think first and foremost, if we look at why did we do this? Why did we expend these funds for this station, or for both stations? We wouldn't be able to stand here today with all these lights on, with these doors opening, with all of the offices having powers to the needed systems, to our emergency operations site, that's our training room over there, to be functional had we not done this. In the previous station, the generator that was here was underpowered. It didn't run to all of the outlets. We didn't even know which ones would come on or which ones would not come on. That's how bad it seemed at times. But today we can stand here with that generator running in the back, with everything operating, knock on wood that everything's operating, and know that if there's a disaster, that earthquake, that big emergency that takes down power, and we need to operate our emergency operations center out of here, we can do that now successfully. So that's the first and foremost that we did here. The rest of the things, we focused them on our health and safety for our firefighters in the long term. So if you ever saw this station before, a simple little thing was, along that back wall over there was all the protective gear that our firefighters wear. The idea behind the protective gear is to remove the contaminants, remove the dangers that are there. But yet we come back and we hung them on the wall and we exposed them to all that diesel exhaust. And for those that have diesel trucks, you know how much exhaust and soot can come from those. So they were exposed. They didn't have proper ventilation systems to off-gas the contaminants from when they were on calls. Now we have a bunker gear storage room where it can be off to the side, ventilated, controlled. We have corridors now so that if our firefighters come back and they have contaminants from either patients, bloodborne, whatever, they have a corridor now where they can wash their hands, remove the dirty clothing that they have. We have 2 decon showers, so if they have experienced a structure fire or other fire that's caused them to be contaminated, before they bring that into the clean side of the house, which is the rest of the station, the kitchen, the living room, the bedrooms, the shower areas where they would need to go, we have showers set up for them to be able to remove those contaminants and reduce that possibility of those contaminants getting into the station. The other things we did is we right-sided things. In the old building, we had I call it a communal training room. And for perspective, I'm going to say it wasn't much bigger than this section here when you put all those desks. That was about the space they had to work in. And if you had 4 or 5 firefighters working there, one of them's trying to answer phone calls, the other's trying to set up appointments for inspections, the other's trying to watch training videos, somebody else is trying to finish their reports. That could be kind of difficult when everybody's moving around and so forth. So we right-sided that and put in some workstations that make it better for them in the long run as well. And then again, I ask when you go and you tour the station and you tour the kitchen, look at the concrete. Look at the difference of the coloring of the concrete, and that'll give you a sense of what was the kitchen before and what is the kitchen now. And so you'll see those lines. And sometimes we think, well, there's only 3 or 4 or 5 firefighters working. Yeah, but in the morning when they're doing shift change, you got to double that number. And that's the common place where all that takes place. So you got to have the right spacing for our folks to be comfortable and get their work done as well. Those are just a few of the things we did on the operations side. And then the other thing we did is, this is our administrative staff location as well. So again, we right-sized our administrative side of that. We expanded our training EOC room. We put in a conference room so that if we did need to have meetings, we have a place to do it. We also have that going to tie in as part of the EOC and expansion of that as well. So again, just kind of right-size that over there. You've probably heard enough from me. So we've got about 5 or 6 more speakers to go. All right, just one more speaker. So I'd like to ask Mayor Donovan to come up and say a few words, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Bryce. If I figure out a way to keep my wife in the room when I start talking, I'll let you know. I am incredibly excited to be here today celebrating with our community the opening of this building. What a beautiful building and an aesthetic addition to our neighborhood. What a great place to work, especially if you've been working out of a portable in the corner of a city park for the last couple of years. Not a bad spot. I'm celebrating here today for another reason. I'm celebrating today looking back at a city council that didn't try to cut corners at the time to do what was easy. They didn't try to cut corners to save $1 today and build a 10 or 15-year facility, only to have to expand or replace that facility in a few years down the road. Instead, I witnessed a council that stepped up and stepped out and took some risk to build something that's going to last. They put some of the community's needs ahead of doing what was easy at the time. And when they did, they took another step toward building a more prosperous future for our residents. So I appreciate that, and I hope you do as well. They dove headfirst into investing in sensible public safety infrastructure that recognizes the needs that our residents have today, but also recognizes the vital resource that we have in our men and our women who are there to serve and respond for us in our most vulnerable time of need. I think we might forget sometimes that the city provides so many 24-hour services, from wastewater to streets to police. Thanks for being here, Chief Chrisman. To fire, those public safety services that are available to us day and night, and usually for less than most of us pay for our monthly cell phone bill. But providing those services, providing quality services, requires quality facilities and equipment. So that's why we're here today to celebrate. I also want to recognize today the vision and the dedication, the determination of Mount Vernon Fire Chief Brian Bryce. Chief Bryce knew how urgent this pressing need was in our community for facility replacement, and he didn't take no for an answer, right? He instead found a creative way to fund the updates and the expansion of 2 of our 3 fire stations that were woefully inadequate. And then he got the mayor on board, and then he got the city council on board, and then he went to work to see these projects through. Chief, we are truly grateful for your dedication to the success of this department. City is also grateful, as Chief Bryce pointed out, for McKenzie Architects, for KBA, for our contractor Trico Construction, and the outstanding work that they do. The city was extremely fortunate to have Trico bid on this project, and Skagit County is fortunate to have such a talented team as Trico to call a neighbor. So what now? The city is, Chief Bryce mentioned it, the city is already looking forward. We've already set our sights on the future as we hope to partner with our residents to address some long overdue needs, urgent needs. The city's third and final fire station, the downtown fire station that was built, I think, 60 years ago and has been in need of replacement probably for at least a couple of decades. That's what's next. We're almost there. We are 2 down, 1 to go, right? But even as we get started on the planning of Fire Station 1, today is about a finish line celebration, and every finish line has a ribbon. So Chief Bryce, city council members, present and past, who are a part of this project, and the renovation of Fire Station 3 as well.
Gary,
we invite
Mark,
you forward.
Come on.
Let's cross this finish line. Let's cut this ribbon. Oh, I get scissors.
That's for you. We couldn't find the big scissors, so we got just functional scissors.
That works. That works.
I'm going to let you guys get in with the mayor there. I'm going to stand back here. I think last time I was next to Richard as well.
Perfect.
I think there's some photos being taken.
Oh.
Esther, where do we look, Esther? Forward? All right. Hang on, one more from Esther.
Let's work on that.
My son was disappointed at the library. We didn't have this big set of scissors.
Mine were golden.
All right.
I got golden ones.
Mayor, it is
sir.
now your opportunity to cut the ribbon.
All right, let's get a 3, 2, 1 maybe.
3, 2, 1. Yay! Little less anticlimactic than Station 3, where we then opened all the doors, but because they open inward, we didn't want everybody to get hit with them. So we decided not to do it this time. But please, take your time now, visit your fire station, wander through the hallways. We tried to put signage of areas that are off limits. There's very few of those, but please make your way through. Everything should be unlocked, and we hope we have enough signs for bathrooms and how to exit.